I'm like, hey, what's up? Hello. Yes, welcome back to Emma's Media Mic. I am so excited to be talking into my microphone, as always. Talking into my microphone alone in my room. But it couldn't bring me more joy. So I just can't wait any longer. I have a lot of awesome topics to get to today. So to begin, right off the bat with music, as always. This one's a little bit of a throwback, if you will. Let me paint the picture for you. Let me set the scene. It is November 2020. That year will live in infamy in all of our brains. It's November, months into this pandemic. It was just a horrible time. But Miley Cyrus said, guys, wait, I'm going to save the day. And not for everyone, but probably for Emma. So I'm going to save the day for Emma. She released Plastic Hearts. Now, I grew up being a Hannah Montana stan. I'm talking one of my birthdays, all my presents were Hannah Montana themed. Like I was that serious about it. Like I remember watching the first episode the day it came out. I know exactly where I was. I was 4 years old, but I remember that. You remember things that really touched your heart, and Hannah Montana did. Anyway, fast forward to 2020. Plastic Hearts was released. Now, looking at her discography, Miley Cyrus was mostly at the beginning a child pop country singer. We went into Can't Be Tamed. I kind of thought she was being sassy, so I was like, girl, we can't do that. But Bangers came out, and I said, whoa, Miley, put it away. But I was 11, and I really didn't get it, and I just thought she was being a bad girl. But she's just being herself. She's being a woman. I can't blame her for that. Bangers is one of my favorite albums ever. So looking back. Anyway, Miley Cyrus and Her Dead Pets. I'm forgetting the name of that one with the the one that came out in like 2017, Mother's Daughter, and then we're at Plastic Hearts. Of course, there's been more since, but this album, it really just described the end of 2020 for me. I bought the CD. I would listen to it on repeat. And a couple days ago, I was driving to work and I was like, you know what? I didn't bring the CD with me. I have it at home. I should have brought it with me, but I have it on Apple Music. So I played it and it just brings me back to the 2020 era. This rock album, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm looking for it on my shelf right now. I don't Nope, but that is a different album. Oh, there it is. What is it described as? I don't know if this CD will tell me what it's described as, but just in general, I think the sound of the album was so impactful for me because of her discography trajectory. Like it was so different, but I loved it. I love rock music. I think it is underrated nowadays. I feel like we're kind of being just consumed by pop music, which isn't a bad thing, but I think for this era it was super good. I'm opening up the pamphlet of the CD, which by the way is one of my favorite parts of having physical media, is owning and being able to look at the artwork and the inclusions in the CDs. Like literally in this booklet, like there's pictures of her as Hannah Montana. Like I like why would I not enjoy this as a consumer of Miley Hannah Montana art? I'm kind of just looking around and I am not finding what I want to look for. So it is a great rock album. The album art is amazing. The era of her outfits and her looks were just so unique. And I think it can be a part of the greater conversation of how decades reflect or reflected by music and media. The 2020s is going to be really interesting to look back on in like 10 years, 15 years because of course the pandemic's effect on everything. But to begin the decade with this album, it just set the tone and it gave me a little bit of hope during that dark time. So I re-listened to this last week and I really enjoy it. It's one of my favorites to go back to. If you haven't had a chance to listen, I definitely recommend it. Since then, she's released, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name. It came out in 2023 it was the album that had Flowers, if you know that song. I'm currently typing into Apple Music right now. Is that album called Flowers? I'm blanking. Oh, it's called End the Summer Vacation. This album is slept on. I love so many songs in this album. Of course, Flowers got annoying after a while because it was such a popular song. But then this year, she released Something Beautiful. She released Something Beautiful, which I was excited about when she released it, but I was a little underwhelmed. I'm not going to lie. a couple of the songs are on the radio, so I get to hear those when I'm looking at the sales floor at work. But, you know, plastic hearts really, really did it for me. So that is my first topic in the music category. If you haven't listened to it, definitely recommend. The next topic is 80s music, which is very broad, but I feel like lately, well, it's because Stranger Things was released a couple days ago. I'm recording this the Monday after Thanksgiving to give you context. 80s music has always had a big influence in my life. My parents, they were teenagers during this decade, so they, of course, that's when you're a teenager, the music you liked, it really sticks with you. So as a kid growing up, my dad played 80s music all the time, not only in his physical media CDs and things, but the radio stations he'd pick to listen to in the car. It was always 80s throwback, 95.5, wait, 95 point, I'm forgetting the Green Bay radio stations, but that's irrelevant. 80s music has this certain nostalgia, even though I wasn't alive, nostalgia and comfort to it. And Liz and watching Stranger Things, it really just like gets me so excited because it reminds me of when season 4 came out and I was living with my dad and we wouldn't watch the show together because we had different schedules with work and stuff, but we would come together and just talk about the needle drops in that season. I that is one of my favorite concepts is the needle drop in a show or movie. I think it's so important to pick the right song for the moment. I've mentioned that before, I'm pretty sure, in this podcast. So, anyway, it's a very nostalgic, it makes me think of my parents, especially my dad. So, I included, as you can see on the left, the WSQK, that's a mouthful, collection. It's the radio station. I think that's the name in the show. It's a blur watching season 5. That Robin, the character Robin, DJs on. So I think also that was, if you haven't seen it, this isn't a spoiler. I mean, it kind of is, but it's not like a big one. They open the season 5, with Robin and Steve at a radio station, and she's giving the audience a rundown of what happened in Hawkins in the last 20 months since we saw in season 4, kind of as like this is a radio show, but it's also giving the audience context to what's happening. I think it was such a good idea. I love the thought of radio. I've listened to the radio so much as a kid. It is such a cool profession. I I have considered doing radio as a career. I took classes in college, but I just feel like there's not enough freedom for me to want to talk about the most random things I want. So this podcast definitely is that outlet for me. But anyway, I bought the vinyl. I actually got it today. I listened to it when I got home, and it has a bunch of just 80 songs that the music director of the show compiled. It's under the pseudonym of Rockin' Robin as if the character made it, but it was the actual music director of Stranger Things. That is, by the way, the coolest job ever. I've always said this. Not always, but I have. I mean, I have always said this. I want to pick the music from movies and TV. I think that is such a cool job. Like I mentioned before, it's really important for the show and the movies to have the right song. So the album has, oh, I'm trying to think, it's how many songs? Probably 12. I'm actually going to count because it's right above me where I'm sitting. Um, this album has 10 songs. From I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany, which was in the first volume of season 5. Bicycle Race by Queen, Another Brick Wall, Part 2 by Pink Floyd, Wheel in the Sky by Journey, Upside Down, Diana Ross. Here Comes the Rain Again by the Arithmetics. There's just so many good songs in this album. And it's not like the official season 5 vinyl that will be coming out. Oh my gosh, my vinyls are falling. But it's a nice collector's edition of music from Stranger Things. So the record came with, of course, the record itself. And really, I'm very glad that I purchased this record because it just holds all those 80s songs. So, yes, 80s music is great. I have a couple of songs on my December playlist that I'm going to be listening to. So, 80s music. And now on to the topic of television. That's right. This will be the final installment of Dancing with the Stars season 34 on my podcast. It'll be pretty quiet until next year. But the finale, let me just talk about this for a little bit. So I think I skipped the week prior. I think I skipped when Whitney got eliminated. I took a break from recording podcasts to like transfer to a new channel. Can't remember what I talked about last about Dancing with the Stars, but the finale, watched that last week. I wasn't fully invested in it because Whitney and Mark did get eliminated the week prior, so I had nobody to really root for, like in my heart. I wanted Elaine to do good because Elaine is just so wholesome and wonderful. Her freestyle was amazing. So watching the finale for 3 hours was mostly just to spend time with my grandma, which has been really fun. Telling her all about the internet side of things and all the drama. I did that with Stranger Things too, like giving her the theories and things I see online. But for Dancing with the Stars, my grandma, people are mad about this, people are mad about this, and it's fun for her to listen to that and see how it reflects her watching, because she doesn't see any of that type of discourse. So the finale was good. Spoiler alert: Robin, Robert and Whitney won, which was pretty cool. I will say, in my whole heart, I believe it was because his sister won and his dad's an icon. That's just my thought. I think he was a shoo-in the minute he got cast, which was pretty early on in this cycle. So, first episode of the season, I was like, he's gonna do great. I guarantee he's gonna win. So it was apparently a close call with Alex and Val, but overall, it was a nice time to just watch with my grandma, and that's all I have to say on that. Because justice for Mark and Whitney, I did watch their freestyle and Call Her Daddy. It was amazing. I almost cried on Thanksgiving morning. So that's that on straight. That's that on Dancing with the Stars. And of course, we have to talk about Stranger Things because this has been a reoccurring topic on this podcast so far. I'm not going to get too much into it. I don't want to spoil it. But it was the volume one. It was released on Thanksgiving. I watched it that evening with my grandma. We watched all episodes. We sat there for 5 hours, like genuinely 5 hours. We sat there and watched all of the episodes, which has its pros and cons because it's super exciting in the moment when you're watching. Now I'm sitting here like, what actually happened? Because I watched it so quickly. I'm trying to think. But honestly, it was just, of course, it's good. Of course, this show was good. That's why it's one of the most popular shows in the world. I guess my thoughts on it are I'm excited for volume 2 and the finale, of course. The reveal at the last episode was like literally one of my favorite moments in TV ever. I don't have many of those moments because a lot of the times I'm rewatching shows that already came out or they're not over yet. So it was just a very cool moment. So if you've seen it, you know what I mean. But I want to talk about a broader point of view of how I watch this show. I, of course, love the plot. I've been watching it since 2019. I'm not a true fan. I know the true fans have been watching since day one. I only started watching because summer 2019, season 3 came out, and it was like the aesthetic was so good. My TikTok For You page was full of it. I quickly binged season 1 and 2, and I watched season 3 as it came out. It was released all in one day. But anyway, it was just the moment. So I've been a fan for about halfway through the release of the seasons. That's irrelevant, I guess. But I watch it for the art, I guess, which I feel like a lot of people do. But I really admire the intricate storylines. I think it's really hard, at least from my perspective, to create such a captivating and important plot for people to watch, because some shows are just like, meh, this is just for fun, which is great. There's some shows where you're just like watching it for fun and it's like not serious, but to me this show is so serious because of its depth and because of its heart, that the creators, the Duffer Brothers, like you can tell that they have such a passion for this genre of TV and film and movies. All of the references that they pull in every season, the music, like I mentioned before, it is all reflective of this time and pop culture within that universe and within our timeline. I mean, like, this show is 80s. Like, my dad watches this and he's like, yeah, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. My grandma's even like, she recognizes the cars. Like, it's something that you can watch and be nostalgic about, which is a really big draw to it. And the art style, the casting is great, the acting. I was just I bet you didn't realize I paused recording in this episode to go to the bathroom and I was watching TikTok and a video came on and it was someone showing the behind the scenes of this season. They're using CGI for like Vecna and the Demogorgons, but it's people like acting it out. I'm not sure what practical effects, like where that line is drawn for it to be practical, but also CGI. I'm not really sure on the technicalities of that, but they're real people acting things out. The house is actually getting destroyed. They're doing these stunts like it's real life. It's like practical, which I have mentioned before. I like practical effects when things are too computerized, too non-realistic, that's just not something that I enjoy watching or would want to create in the future. I like things that are accessible and capable of doing practically. So that's something I also admire about this show. There's just so many great things. We finished it and I went into my room. I hadn't gone on TikTok since it was released because I knew for a fact that TikTok was going to spoil it. But I just love the culture around TikTok and pop culture. That's I don't that's the best way to describe it. We have a community on a social media platform where we can have anybody can have their little niche outlet to talk about their favorite show, their favorite band, their favorite movie, their favorite book. I think it's so cool. So I knew for going on that on my For You page right after watching, it was content about this. It was theories. It was people talking about being shocked and excited and and it resonates with you and it gives you a layer of experience when watching something, which I think is so fun. So I for sure was reposting stuff that night that was a spoiler, so I'm sorry to my friends who saw that and got spoiled, but it's so good. I can't wait to see where this show goes in the last couple episodes. I'm going to be really sad, but also excited. And yeah, so that's enough about Stranger Things. I finished Yellow Jackets. I finished season 3. I was kind of drawing it out because there was a weekend in November I literally did nothing but watch Yellow Jackets season 2 and I watched it way too fast and I was quickly binging season 3. I'm like, "Ella, no, you have to slow down. You have to enjoy and savor season 3 because it was just released this year, 2025, like earlier this year. So there won't be a season for a while." So I'm like, "Emma, just enjoy while you have it." So I had to pay for Paramount Plus with Showtime. It was like $17 a month. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get it just for this month, and then I'm gonna go back to my regular $7 Paramount Plus. But this season of Yellow Jackets, it was good. I really enjoyed season 2. So this was like coming out of it, like I had high expectations. New cast, Joel McHale, that's his name? Joel McHale. I wrote it down. No, I didn't. Okay, perfect. Um he's like a comedian, I'm pretty sure. Joel, I'm gonna type it up in my computer. Joel McHale. And if you know who he is and you're screaming at your computer or your phone or your TV, I'm sorry. Yeah, Joel McHale. He is a actor, comedian, and I'm why is it my view of Google right now was annoying. Movies. Let's see what he was in. Nothing I know. I know his face though, so when I saw him, I was like, I know who you are. None of these movies. Okay, he was in Blended with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. None of these movies. Oh, he was in Ted with the teddy bear. Open season 2, but he is a familiar face. Okay, I'm not gonna get into this any much further, but Joel McHale. Um, oh my god. Okay. I always forget her name. But if I think about Pitch Perfect, I will think of her name because there was a scene in Pitch Perfect where Jesse and Becca were talking. Million Dollar Baby. Million Dollar Baby. Oh my god, I cannot think of her name. Her face is I'm looking at her face on the screen. I always forget her name. I have to Google Million Dollar Baby, but I think about Pitch Perfect when I think of her. I'm gonna be so mad. Hilary Swank. Hilary Swank. I always forget her name. She was in this season. It was like a kind of a cool thing to see. I'm like, what? Oh my gosh. So, new cast was introduced. The story is really interesting. I found out though, the writers of the show wanted 5 seasons to tell the whole story, but they're only getting 4. So, the next season will be the finale, the final season. But it was really good. I had a Friendsgiving and I was talking to one of my friends and I mentioned that I was watching Yellow Jackets, and in the conversation, we both agreed that, so it's the show, reminding you guys, the show does the 1996, 1997 timeline or perspective, and then it's in the future. It's like the teenagers and then the adults, right? And I was talking to my friend, and I was like, this show is really good, but the adults timeline or adults point of view is so boring. It got boring to me, which I hate to say. I'm so enthralled in the teenager version. I keep saying different words. The teenager timeline, the teenager point of view, because this is where it all begins. We're watching the effects as adults, but it just doesn't hit for me as much. The first season was good. Season 2 was okay, but season 3, it just wasn't doing it for me. One of the main characters became insufferable. So that's that. I finished it. Good little um cliffhanger they left us on. Looking forward to that. So say goodbye to Yellow Jackets for a while on this podcast. But now we're going to shift into movies. This was a hard category for me to fill up because I haven't gone to the movies in a couple weeks and I haven't been watching movies. That changed though, the Thanksgiving weekend. I have HBO Max and I watched Eddington, which came out this summer. It's an Ari Aster film, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I like Ari Aster. He made Hereditary, Midsommar. Um, I'm blanking on the rest, and I'm trying to Google it while I talk and keep the conversation going. Yes, he did Hereditary, Midsommar, Beau was Afraid, and Eddington. So, my thoughts on Eddington, as you can see, my letterboxd review is 3 stars, and my caption is Joaquin resembled my deceased uncle. So, there's that. Um, he really did. My uncle who passed away with the cowboy hat, they're like doppelgangers. It is really crazy. It was like a 2-hour movie. I watched it while playing Sims. And maybe because didn't have my full focus on it, it didn't hit, but honestly, it was set in COVID. It was like 2020. Masks were a big topic in the beginning and the rising action. I was like, guys, and I will give it the benefit of the doubt. I did not know anything about it except it was set in COVID before going into it. And I'm sure Ari Aster, I mean, he's a great filmmaker. He has a reason and he had like a passion for this project. So I'm not discrediting that. Just for me personally, the aesthetics weren't my favorite, and you know, it is what it is. The big like fight scenes and the jaw dropping things, Ari Aster does a great job with that. So I mean, it was enjoyable to some extent. I gave it a 3 out of 5. It wasn't like I was bored out of my mind, but it wasn't. It doesn't equate to Midsommar and Hereditary for me. Those two are just, I mean, of course, top tier. So that's my thought on Eddington. The next topic and final topic in the movies section. So the Hunger Games movie era. To me, this is like if I want to go back to a happy time, my memories, I go back to this often. So, to give context and a timeline, Hunger Games 1, the movie came out March 2020. Nope, March 2011, right? Or 2012. Okay, got a fact check. Got a fact check. Hunger Games movie release 2012. March 23rd, 2012. Don't know why I said 2011. That was totally wrong. So it came out in 2012. I was 10. And I didn't have an interest in it too much. I wasn't on, like, I didn't have Instagram or anything at that point. I was kind of just consuming what was ever on, like, cable, TV. Nothing, it really wasn't on my radar because I was kind of young. I didn't read the books either. Like, it was just not on my radar. I watched it Thanksgiving 2012. I remember it vividly in my grandparents' living room, the very house I'm living in now. My grandma's cooking in the kitchen. I'm watching Hunger Games. I was so scared. I was freaked out. I mean, any 10-year-old would. Yeah, I was 10 years old. I remember watching it. It was just that moment and that feeling you'll never ever replicate. Then Catching Fire came out Thanksgiving weekend 2013. Mockingjay Part 1 came out Thanksgiving weekend 2014. Mockingjay Part 2 came out Thanksgiving weekend 2015. So for 4 years consecutively, Thanksgiving was my Hunger Games movie era. Being 13, nope, it wasn't. Being 11 years old in 2013. My numbers, I'm really bad at numbers. 11 years old watching that in the theaters. I remember I remember coming home and just wanting to sob. I don't know why. It just the story, the acting, everything just hits you. And your little brain, my little preteen brain could not handle it. I remember going on Instagram and I would be looking at I was pretty young to have Instagram, I know that, but I had it and I was looking at memes. If you're looking at the screen right now, there's the bottom right corner is a little meme that I actually found on my Instagram that I commented on. It's Plutarch as a game maker saying change it up, spin it, and it's the cornucopia spinning. That's an actual post that I commented on. And the comment was, they were so mean. Because you can go on Instagram and actually look at the things you've commented and like you can go back to the beginning. Yesterday when I was making the slideshow, I literally found that. I was like, that just describes the culture on my social media when I was 11 years old in 2013. I miss that. I miss that. But I remember just being heartbroken and like my heart, it just like sunk and it was so important to me. I loved it. And then I decided, Emma, oh, actually, I got the books for Christmas that year, 2013. I got the book set. So I said, I'm going to make sure that I read Mockingjay before I see part 1, 2014 Thanksgiving. So I was 7th grade. I think, I'm trying to think when I read it. It gets a little fuzzy, to be honest. My memory's pretty good, but not that good. That was the first book I read before watching the movie. I felt like I was on top of the world. I felt like I was on the freaking Mount Everest. It was awesome. So 2014 and then 2015 watching those movies in the theaters respectively. I added the Starbucks I added the person drinking Starbucks Pinterest picture because I was obsessed with the idea of infinity scarves, diamond earrings, Starbucks. Like I wanted that life so bad, but as a kid in Green Bay, like back then it wasn't super like the way it is now, Green Bay now, it was different. Like I didn't get to do a lot of the cool aesthetic things. So it was just a dream of mine and I had to put that on there because it really fit into that era of media for me. So the Hunger Games will live on in my brain forever, in my nostalgia. And it really helped that this Thanksgiving was like I was thinking about it and I really need to go. Oh wait, yeah, the next 2 topics are Hunger Games related, so we can keep this conversation going. Um, I'm done with movies, on to YouTube. This again was a hard category to fill. I just have one section for YouTube. It is The Hunger Games But Better by Grace Ryder. So this came out a couple weeks ago. It was hard finding screenshots from this video. It was like, I don't know, I kept typing in Hunger Games But Better Grace Ryder. It kept coming up with pictures of McKenna Grace because she's in the new Hunger Games movie coming out next year. But essentially, this comedian, whom I've followed since like 2019 on TikTok, she's from Wisconsin, literally love her, released on YouTube this video. It's a parody, but it's one of those parodies. It's not, there's a term for it. It's not making fun of it. It's like you actually love this piece of work and you're kind of just taking and making your own take on it. So I watched the short film. It was like 40 minutes. And it was so funny. I was laughing. I could not stand it. It was so good. But then she released a video saying like the making of. So what she did was watch the movie and made a spreadsheet of every single scene that they could replicate. Her and her friends just booked an Airbnb and like filmed it. That is absolute goals to have a group of friends who know how to film stuff, how to mic people up, how to act, and then put it all together. I think it's fantastic. So if you haven't watched it, That's
I
my book
definitely
section, and I'm
recommend
upcoming.
go
I'm
and
again so
see this
excited for
on
Wuthering
YouTube.
Heights coming out February 2026. But I'm seeing FNAF in like 2 weeks. FNAF 2. I am literally so excited. It's gonna be just a fun watch. I'm not like serious about it. I watched the first one in theaters. I have to watch the second one in theaters. I'm going with my friends. I'm very excited. But that is all for Emma's Media Mic this week. I hope you enjoyed. This is a little bit of a longer episode, so I kind of was yapping a lot.